Oh.
So don't like everything else.
There's different bonuses based on which version of the quiz you had.
You had an easier one.
Yeah, they
Mine was like, sorry, can I see one? Yeah. I don't even know
Are we able to
where
ask
start.
questions?
Sorry, no, that's
The
okay.
practice test?
Oh, just a second. Real quick. You guys, help me out.
I wouldn't have gotten that.
What would you say is like the easiest form of factoring? What do you think?
Differences.
Yeah, that's a good answer because it's pretty well true. So help me out, guys. Help me. How would you do x squared minus y squared? How would you factor that?
X, Y, Y, X, Y.
Yeah, there's two of these things, so one there, one there. There's two of these things, so one there, and to fill the middle term, I just make them opposite sides, right? All right. Would it change if I put an A there? Would it really change? No, I just put A. Right? So what if instead I was feeling really weird one day and I said 2z minus 7 squared minus 4m plus 3 squared? And then people kind of just shut off there, or you start foiling this shit out. If I say factor, you almost never, like 0.1% of the time would you do any multiplication, because what does factor mean? Undue multiplication. So if you start foiling or something in a factoring problem, probably wrong. And one place you would do it is if it's an equation, but that's an equation. That's its own thing. It's not just a factoring problem. So this is the same problem. These are the same problems. These are exactly the same problems. And again, there's a few of you that just still think I'm just completely insane. But I have two of these, so I put one there. So I have two 2z minus 7. So I put one 2z minus 7 there, and one 2z minus 7 there. And what else do I have? I have two 4m plus 3s. So I put a 4m plus 3 here, and a 4m plus 3 here. And what do I put in the middle? Minus, plus, like I always do. So I saw two of these, so I put one there, one there. So two of these, I put one there, minus, plus. The same way I always do difference of squares, always. And then inside here, you can kind of distribute and put some like terms together, but this is the main thing I was looking for, or that bonus question some of you guys had. So it wasn't that hard. It was a bonus question. It was still harder than the basics that you are required to know. That's why it was bonus. But it wasn't like insanely hard. Yeah, whatever. You guys get that wrong. I don't care that it's bigger than x. There's x. 2z minus 7 is bigger. Who cares? Who cares? I got two of them. So I put one of them there, one of them there. Just the same way I had two x's, you put one there, one there. Same way. I like it. Alright, so enough of that. Yes? Oh, you want your papers? Show me my papers. Oh, where are you? There you are. Bless you. All right. So real quick, anybody still need a copy of the practice test? Oh, jeez. There's people need a copy. Bless you. Bless you. All right, everybody else got a practice test. Okay. So today is wide open. If you want to discuss more from that quiz, you can. I think I already have a question from the practice test. Which one are we looking at?
Oh, I have.
Wait, somebody already started asking. Yes.
1G.
1G? Yeah, that's a good one to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Zoom in so much you can see. the imperfections of my printer. Where am I? Wow. Sorry. I'm easily entertained, and I appreciate your patience with me. So, the ones, how do I say this without giving it away? Well, what are you looking for? Two numbers that do what? Multiply to 2. Add to negative 45. What are the only two numbers that multiply to 2? The only, like, whole number, 2 and 1. Can you put them together somehow and make 45? If you can, you gotta tell me. So it's remarkably obvious that this one then is prime. I try to make the prime ones pretty obvious because I don't want you sitting there, you know, like all day just trying to figure one out. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't do anything else. So that's immediately obvious. Please let it be obvious. There will maybe be one prime on the test. So if you like answer 5 primes, no. Some of those should be factorable. Okay, so everybody cool with that one?
Yeah.
All right, I like it. So you, yes?
Can you do J on number 1? Like a little, yeah.
Oh yeah. I
I
can
don't
try.
know if you can go
What do you always try first?
pick up the,
GCF. And what's the GCF in J here?
12x.
Good. 12 comes out of all the numbers, and then an x is the lowest variable power. Just x to the first. Then I'm left with, good, 2x is there,
Minus 2x.
2, and an x, plus 1.
And then after that, you just end it at that?
Yeah.
No? Well, so far, I mean, that step is done.
Yeah.
And why do I say it like that? Because you got to take a look. Now, this is obviously done. It's just going to come for the ride. Can this be done anything else with? Yeah. What multiplies to be 1 and adds to be negative 2? Negative 1 and negative 1. So what would that be here?
X.
Minus 1? Minus 1. So especially if you do a GCF, you should look at what's left and see if it's something that can go further.
So then on 8 or on I, the one right before it, if after you take out the GCF and you factor it again like how you did with J,
Now see, this is in the right form, right?
yeah.
X squared, something x, and a number.
Mhm.
That's not going to be in that form.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes GCF is it. So let me ask you a question. How do you factor x cubed minus 4x minus 5? I wouldn't do this to you in the test. I don't want you to freak out, but can you guys tell right now how we don't have a way to do this? What's supposed to be here? So that when I cut it in half, number 1, I can cut it in half, and number 2, it's got to match with this. So for example, if it was x to the 4th minus 4x minus 5, well that's a little bit better, but it's still not doable. I really want you guys to get this. If you wanted to start trying to do this, what would you put here and here? X squared, but that doesn't match with what the middle term's supposed to be. So you see how the middle power, if the middle power is half the first power, it's got a chance. Aw. So here I'd say x squared. What multiplies to be negative 5 adds to be negative 4? Negative 5 and 1. Can I do anything with either one of these?
Oh yeah, you can square the 1.
What do I square to get 5?
Nothing.
This is a sum of squares. It's done. This is done. It's done. It could have gone further. That would have been a 1 here. It could have gone further, but in this case, it just didn't end up being a nice difference of squares anyway. Yes?
Can you do
2b?
D?
B.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I know.
grossness.
Like do the
So this is that. I'm not sure what I just said. This is that that one example I said where it's a solve an equation problem. It's not a factor problem yet. So this, what do I have to do first? What did some person, some jackass did what to me here? what was it supposed to be equal to before I start to factor? 0. And they factored the x minus 3 squared side, but it was equal to x plus 9. What the hell? So what do I have to do? I have to undo what they did, and then bring the x and the 9 over, right?
Okay. So unfactor then.
So distribute this, right? FOIL this out, whatever you want to use, whatever word you want to use.
Because you're just skipping this.
I am. Save time. If at this point you guys can't do x minus 3 times x minus 3, this is a remarkably bad sign for you. So yeah, that's what you get. Now can you guys try to finish that out if you haven't done that one yet? This is a problem I like to give, so you would, Jeff. What?
Well, this is like a problem that you give us.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Everything on the practice test is an example of a problem I could give you in a test. Otherwise, why would I give it to you on the practice test?
Wait, what about X goes on 7x equals
Now, please don't freak out that what do the 9s do?
cross cancel?
They just go away, right? Don't freak out. So I got to subtract x. I got to subtract 9. Oh, I get x squared minus 7x equals 0. Now, once I get it equal to 0, and why did I do that? Why did I set it equal to 0? Because there's no,
No, there's nothing in front of the x squared.
there's an x squared term. They can't go together with the other x term. If that wasn't there, I would just subtract 9, subtract x, divide by negative 7, be done with it. Get the x's on one side. That's the, I keep saying this, and I don't know if you get the point. That is why we have to do something new now. That's why solving an equation doesn't feel the way it used to, because I have a harder equation. But that is old shit. That's subtract x, subtract 9, get all my x's on one side, all my numbers on this, like always. The minute I put that there, oh shit, that doesn't work anymore. I can't combine my x terms. They're not like terms. Yes?
How do you know if you're supposed to make it equal to 0 or like do something else like GCF or something? Like how do you like what are the signs so you know how to
Alright.
do the problem?
So the questions you're asking don't really go together. If I have to make it equal to 0, I am going to have to factor, because that's what that process requires. So really, how do I know when to make it equal to 0 and then factor? Those go together?
Well, how do you know when to make it equal to 0? Like that.
Yeah. So like I just said, it's that x squared term.
So
There has to be a higher power on my x, higher than 1. Yeah, I like it. You guys? So if I had an x cubed running around in an equation, I'm pretty much going to have to get it equal to 0 unless that sucker cancels somewhere. You guys doing it? All right. So how do I factor this? Take out an x. This is the place where everybody tries to do this. I'm like, what the no. What saves your ass is you just take a second and go, is there a GCF? Before you try anything. Yes, there is. There's an x. You still see it? Oh, I have a triple equals, but oh. So then either, so what are the two numbers involved in the multiplication up there? I love this question because you're like, I don't see any numbers. I do. I see the number x, and I see the number x minus 7. If they multiply to be 0, then what's got to be true? Either x is 0, answer, yeah, or the other number, x minus 7, has to be 0, in which case you got to do a little bit of work and then you get to 7. Yeah. Now please notice, some of you guys are trying to generalize the idea that the sign changes and using it really wrong. Don't even try that. Why does it become positive? Because I've got to add the 7 to the other side. That's when I solve the equation. Some of you guys are just changing all your signs just because you feel like you're supposed to. No. Solve the equation. The answer is it. Right? Sure, it becomes positive 7 because we had to add it. Nothing special there. I like it. You guys okay with that one? That one's one of the harder ones because you have to kind of feel like you go backwards a bit, but you have to undo that factoring and then suck these things over. Or whatever better choice of words you want to use. Yes?
Can you do like 2A?
Yeah, 2A. 2A. Why is 2A a little nicer than the one we just did? It's already equal to 0, right? So it's a little bit nicer. I don't have any cleanup to do. Elena, don't take that personal. I'm just saying. That one's a little bit nicer because it's already equal to 0. I don't have to do anything weird. What can I do with this now? Huh?
I said I just forget how to, like, the process.
Yeah, now, tell me, if that x squared wasn't there, what would you do to solve that equation right there?
Minus, negative, or subtract.
Subtract 33, divide by negative 14, right? Good old way of doing equations. And it's not the old way, it's the way to do equations where all the variables are to the first power. That's the way, that's what it was before. Now we are introducing the possibility of higher powers on my variable. I have to develop a new way to do it. Because I cannot combine the x terms. I can't get them into one term. So then I factor this sucker, right? Try to break it up. So see, this process takes an ugly second-degree equation and makes it into 2 little nice first-degree equations. That's what this really does. Or it takes a cubic equation and turns it into 3 nice little things. How do you factor this?
Negative 11, negative.
Yeah, negative 11. Negative 3. I like it. Those are the two numbers that multiply with 33. Add to be negative 14. So x minus 11 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0. X is 11, or x is 3. I like it. Whatever x is, this is a number. Whatever x is, this is a number. If I got 2 numbers multiplied to 0, one of them's got to be 0. So either the first one's 0, or the second one's 0. And then you solve what you end up with when you write those down. Yeah.
I just have a different question.
Did you have a question about this one? All right, what's up?
I have a different question. Okay, so number 3, just setting it up. So the 3 7, so it'd be 2w minus 3 is the length,
Yep.
and then
And then the area is 104. How do you get the area of this? What's the area of this picture here?
W times 2.
Yeah. The width times the length, right? So w times 2w minus 3 has to be 104. So that one is sort of like this one. I multiply this out, I subtract the 104 over, and then I try to factor what I end up with. I like it. Yes, ma'am.
On 1B, how do you
Deal with which one?
it's number 1B,
B. How do I deal with what?
but it's not a perfect cube.
Oh, I like it. I like it. So, on the surface, I appreciate that you're like, well, 2 can't be cut in thirds. Not nicely. 54 can't be cut in thirds nicely. So, screw this problem. But what is it you always try first? GCF. What comes out of both? 2. Any x's come out? Nope. Any y's come out? No. So I'm left with half of what I had before. And now that is perfect cubes. Yeah. Right. You got every piece of that in thirds. The 2 just comes for the ride, just comes for the ride. Now we could try this one out because, as I could predict, cubes are one of our least favorite things. But I wish that wasn't true, but it is. So the whole idea behind cubes is I've got 3 of everything. So if I put 1 of each in this guy, I have to put 2 of each in this big tube. So what's x cubed made of? XXX. What's 27y cubed made of? 3y, 3y, 3y. So when the little dude goes what?
X plus.
Yeah, 1x plus 3y. Then I've got to put x squared there so I get my x cubed. See that?
Minus 3y.
And at the end, I'm going to put the other 3y's, 9y squared, so I get 27y cubed. And then the middle term is the guy who gets rid of all the other shit I get. What's it going to have to be? Minus.
3y.
Yeah, 3xy. Put y extra fine. Just convention to put alphabetical order.
Okay, so obviously I don't know how to do number 3 because it's not working out. So, I don't.
So you get 2w squared minus 3w, and then you subtract the 104.
Yeah, okay.
Now you're trying to find factors of what number? 208. Negative 208. That had to be 3.
Negative 3.
Yeah,
It's
negative
going to be negative 16 and 13, right?
Could be. Negative 16 and 13 sounds about right.
Yeah, so put a positive 16. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
Hold on.
So let me go ahead and give you guys the answer key. What's it? What were you hoping for? Nobody else is saying anything. You're not really taking it over.
Yeah, it's not negative 16, it's positive 16. Or it's negative 16, not positive 16. No, you're fine. She doesn't, yeah. You're shit together than her.
Everybody got an answer key?
Thanks.
Sure.
Do you have a practice?
Thank you.
Sure.
Is that Lois or?
Yes.
Okay, can
What?
you do the last one?
Wait. All right. Wait. Real quick. No,
Oh, it's not.
I do not drop any test scores.
Wait, what?
If
It
you
doesn't drop any text.
were hoping I was, I've already asked to answer the question first.
I thought.
Even before we met, answer the question in the syllabus.
Was it?
That's all right. Too many teachers do that shit. Sorry. What? So what's up?
The last one, I just don't think that we've done, I don't feel we've gone over that for me to understand.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay.
It's a practice test.
Is that
So you're not going to lose any points for anything you try on this problem. So why did I put this here? So that we could discuss it. Now. I wanted to see if somebody could figure out, and I gave you some hints yesterday.
And then on the answer sheet, it split the, whatever is positive is negative, so I would
Well,
not even know.
give me a second. You ready?
Yeah,
Right here?
yeah.
All right. What are the answers to this?
Excellent.
X equals,
7.
you flip the sign. What the hell? And,
2. Negative
no,
2.
yeah, you flip the sign. What the shit? So if I said x equals 5 and negative 3, and I couldn't read somebody's stuff up here, I just saw that that's the answers they got. What must the equation have been?
X
X minus 5,
Yeah.
a plus 3. Because that's, of course, what would lead to those.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. Cool.
So now you know how to do that part.
Reverse.
Now please understand,
So simple.
I had a teacher that would put new stuff on the test. Explain something and then ask us if he's like, well, the test is part of the learning experience. I was like, the test is testing the learning that it's supposed to be done, not. So at least I'll do that to you on the practice test, not the actual test. That would be remarkably evil. Right? Does everybody understand that question now? Okay. Take that as a yes.
So you're just working backwards on the last one.
Yep, pretty much. Because normally we have to get 3 little bam, bam, bam to get the answers, and this is just asking you to think backwards. Where would 3 have come from? X minus 3.
Oh my god. Okay. It's just weird saying.
I know. But if you understand something backwards and forwards, then you really freaking understand. Yes?
Like this one, am I supposed to like have to follow that? Or am I just-
Well, now you say that either this number is 0 or that number is 0. Yeah, so you get these. That's right. Either 12W 0, so W 0, or W minus 3 0. Yep. So that's what I meant earlier about signs don't just change. The signs change because you solve. So you have to undo it, yeah.
What was that?
Sounds of the classroom. Sure. So it's wide open right now. If you have anything you want to look at, specific question, general question, yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. This is perfect. What is it about an equation that says I need to make it equal to 0 and then factor? Oh, shit. Do you guys know my name? You ever listen? So earlier, yeah, now you know my full name. If you paid attention. So, what did we talk about earlier? Why did we all of a sudden have to start making equations equal 0 and stuff? Because there was higher powers on my variable. So in 2C, the x squared terms, what do they do? What do the x squared terms do? On 2C, what do the x squared terms do? Like 4x squared and negative 4x squared. They cancel. They're not there anymore. So the thing that makes me have to set it equal to 0 and then factor is not there anymore. So I just solve like normal. You guys get that? So the point, guys, the point I'm trying to make with that is a huge point about math. Nothing you ever learn can ever go away. You can't just go, remember how we used to do negatives? Well, now we're going to, no. It can't happen. We just learn how to handle more complicated stuff. And sometimes the process to handle more complicated stuff is very different from the earlier process. The earlier process doesn't go away. When the ugly shit goes away, then I can do the easy. I can just solve for x like I always would have, because the x squared pieces go away. Is that cool? I like it. But that's a good question. I don't want you to feel bad. I never want to make you feel bad. It's a good question because you're like, well, now we start doing equal. No. We're learning why that process has to happen. Right? And when. That's part of what we're trying to learn. Yes?
Okay, so for 1f, can you not go any further because it's the sum squares?
Exactly.
But if
Yeah.
it were a difference,
If it was a difference, you could go one more step.
oh, alright.
Sum of squares does not allow for opposite signed things, so the things could never cancel like they're supposed to. So the sum of squares can't be done, as far as we know, at this moment. Next class you'll take, you'll learn about something called complex numbers. You're like, I think we already did some of that. All right.
You would just GCF then, right?
Yeah, F.
Because it's some.
GCF is the only thing you can do, because what you're left with is the sum of squares. Yeah.
I have like a smaller question. You know how you can do like the plus and then underneath it write the minus, and now if it's the same number, will you accept that?
Yeah. Just for general information, I put this on the timeline sheet, but just in case somebody needs to know this for whatever reason, tomorrow is the last day to drop any courses. So since we are taking the test tomorrow, if any of you are hinging on what you make on that test, you could email me. I'll start grading them that afternoon immediately. You can email me and I can let you know how you did and what your average is after that. You guys understand what I'm saying? It's kind of evil. We're taking the test on the last day to drop. I understand that. So if you email me, I'll make sure to grade your test that day so that you'll know where you are. What does it mean for that to be? Yeah. Yeah.